store. Angela Lek, associate research scientist from Yale University, is coming up next here, as we are now in the 3:00 hour Central, and coming up on a break at some point. But we'll worry about that later. Right now, I want to have some fun and talking with Angela Lek. Hello, Angela. How are you?
Hi, Tim. I'm all right. Could be better. I mean, we all could be, but can't believe it's been a year.
Yeah. Has it been yeah?
Yeah.
It goes by fast. And I must say, I think I said it last time we talked, the accent is phenomenal. So let's
Yes.
just get there.
I believe I said "G'day, mate" for you last
Yes,
year.
you
So this
did.
year I'll say something different. How about there's a shark in the water.
That's great. You guys hear that? Oh, that is there for posterity. Now I'm gonna have to replay the clip and then just find that audio clip, and then we'll use it for like an FSHD radio ad or something.
Oh dear.
Give money, and then we'll play your audio clip. That's great. Well, thanks for taking the time today to join us on this Giving Tuesday Radiothon event. As you see, it's a little different with Zoom, so everybody can now match the accent with the face and know about you. Even though you're all over FSHD Society's web pages, if you search your name, winning awards for research and doing all you've done.
Oh no, I try not to Google myself.
It's all good things. I have to. I mean, this job I do here. I mean, just so everybody knows that I have been on and will be on, I've Googled all of you.
Oh wow. Okay.
I've Googled all of you. So go back a little bit. I know we talked last year, and some people do know you, but why FSHD? What kind of drove you that direction?
Wow. I guess this is going back many, many years now. So it really all stems from, so back when I was dating my husband before we got married, very early on in our relationship, he was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. Okay. It's not FSHD, but it's similar. So it's like late onset. It's got like sort of similar pattern of muscle weakness. And he has a rare one, but it's sort of similar. It's comparable. The genetics is different, but when you look at him clinically, like what muscles are affected and things, there are some overlapping features. So like weakness in the legs and the arms and things like that. And, and then at the time, he was working as an IT person at IBM. And I heard someone else earlier on your show say that, like when I was working at IBM, and I was like,
yeah,
I don't know, I can't remember who that was.
You make me search now. Yeah,
yeah, and I was like, Monkol, is that you? That's my husband. That's my husband's name. But he decided, screw this. I'm just gonna like ditch my career and just like get retrained. And then I was really inspired by his decision because, his whole family were against it and everyone thought you're crazy. And because he was going places in his job and he's really good at what he does, which is like programming. He's a big computer nerd anyway. So then it inspired me also to get into research, muscular dystrophy research, and so, we took the necessary steps to get into where we are now. So we did a PhD in cell molecular biology, computational biology, just surrounding ourselves with everything, muscle related and muscular dystrophy, going to conferences, meeting all the experts in the field and just really like getting into it, a deep dive into the field because we knew nothing about this stuff.
Yeah.
And actually, interestingly, like, I don't know whether I told you last year, but, when Monkol, a few times after meeting the neurologist, his neurologist, who really had nothing more to say to him other than, okay, you're getting weaker every year. He was like, okay, you know what? If you can't tell me any good news, I'm just going to look into this myself. I'm going to research into this myself. And they were like, please don't, please leave it to the experts. But, I'm really proud to say that, over a decade later, I feel like we are one of the experts now. Yeah. So we have, sometimes I need to stop and think, wow, we've come such a long way, from being on the other end of, the table where, we were receiving the bad news, like, oh, okay, what is this muscular dystrophy, to like being one of the ones like pushing the boundaries and like, oh, we should try this or we should try that, and communicating with the patients and giving them hope and things like that. So it's been an exciting journey. I can't say my life is boring. It's definitely been challenging. We definitely took the path less traveled, because a lot of our peers have really high paying jobs, and they're and stable. A career in science is very uncertain, and it pays like crap compared to a job in IT. Definitely. But we make do, and so it's all good. It's all good. And it's exciting living day to day, like and it's like a choose your own adventure. Like when you run your own lab and you have direction in what research you want to go to, which path. Am I interested in this aspect of FSHD or that? Do I want to make an animal model? Do I want to understand the variability in siblings? Do I, want to prepare for clinical trials? There's like so many avenues to go down, and, no matter what path you take, you're making a difference. And it's been so great listening to everyone today, all the scientists, seeing my colleagues, and listening to their updates, and like and also the patients. They remind us why we're doing what we're doing. And so yeah, in our lab, so we've established an FSHD contingent at Yale. So I started my FSHD research actually in Boston with Professor Lou Kunkel, and he's sort of like seen in the field as like the great grandfather of muscular dystrophy, because he discovered the first muscular dystrophy gene, called dystrophin, and it causes Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So he got into FSHD because I think he knew Dan Perez, and then when I met him at a conference, at that time I was working on a different form of muscular dystrophy when I was in Australia. And then he said, oh, do you want to work in my lab? Do you want to work on FSHD? It's really exciting. It's a different form of muscular dystrophy that's quite puzzling. I have a project for you if you want to come join me. And I said, yeah, sure. And then I joined his lab in Boston in 2013, and for 4 years. And it was a really great experience working in Harvard and Boston Children's Hospital, where what I did was I worked on 2 FSHD related projects. One was to develop a zebrafish model, or as Americans would say, zebrafish. Zebrafish.
That's what we say.
No, it's zebra. It is a zebra. A zebrafish model of FSHD. So we've got these fish swimming around that, have FSHD and have weak muscles and expressing this DUX4 gene that you've heard about. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. So we established that model in the lab on which to test drugs, where we can then like put the drugs that we want to test in the water with the fish, and then see if it like improves their muscle. So we got some pretty good candidates, and those drug candidates actually came about because I had a second project on FSHD that was looking into basically what happens in the middle stages after DUX4 is turned on to the cell death outcome, like what happens in between. We know in the field that turning on DUX4 leads to cell death, but what happens in between, we haven't really pieced the puzzle together. Like there's a whole bunch of steps in between, and maybe if we were to get better resolution of these steps in between, we can then interfere somehow in the middle, like put up the stop sign. Can we inhibit one of those steps, bad things from happening? So it's like basically analyzing the consequences of DUX4 turning on. So because of that, I did find some promising what are known as pathways. So they're kind of like molecular circuits that get turned on in response to DUX4. So I figured maybe, some people are trying to block DUX4 itself. It's kind of hard. So I wanted to take a different approach where I thought, can I inhibit something downstream of DUX4 activation that leads to the cell death outcome, one of the circuits that cause the whole thing to go haywire, the cell? Can I instead target that? And as it turns out, there are existing drugs. Once I found this one candidate pathway or circuit, if you will, there are already existing drugs that are FDA approved that target these pathways that cause cell death.
Yeah.
So, and that would be a heck of a lot faster to get to patients than designing a drug from scratch. That was my logic. That was my reasoning. So we've got a whole bunch of drugs now in the same sort of targeting the same pathway, and they've shown really great results in cells and also the zebrafish model. And we're now testing them in the mouse model that was developed by the Jones lab. So, and then who knows what will happen after that. So we're testing a whole bunch of them in the mouse. And once we get really good results, with fingers crossed, we can then, think about clinical trials and stuff and get funding for that. But that's going to be really expensive. And the issue is, just make sure you stop me if I'm going over time, because I feel like I'm just rambling and I don't.
We're okay.
So I guess I'm making your job easier.
You are.
So the issue is that with some of these compounds, these known drugs, that they have gone off patent, meaning like no one sort of has a claim on it, right?
Okay.
Because like drugs have a patent life. And so if these drugs are off patent and like people can't really claim it, it makes pharmaceutical companies hesitant to work on it, like to sponsor it, like to sponsor a clinical trial based on that, is my understanding. And I kind of I was a little bit dejected when I found out that, people usually want a new molecule that was designed from scratch and has like a new patent life, allow them to work it up and then like sort of claim their stake on that molecule. Because if it's not, then like, I guess a lot of companies can come onto the scene and just like make a generic compound, and then, it's hard to make
the idea, so to speak. But you're saying though, if there was already a drug there that's FDA approved, I think we've heard a little bit of this speech when dealing and hearing about COVID, right? There's already a drug on the market we can use to attack COVID. They were searching like crazy to try to find one. So this is like similar language.
Yeah. But it's really hard to get it to the patients is what I found out, even though it's like safe and it's like, it's
why is that harder, Angela?
It's ironic because there's no money to be made. And everything, the world revolves around money. Unfortunately, people need to make their money. And as like a scientist, you're like, oh, that's really sad, because as a patient, someone having my husband who is a patient and as a carer, you're like, oh, come on, like, what if this drug works? Like, no one wants to sponsor it. No one wants to sponsor clinical trials because they can't, the formulation is out there and it's not like a secret.
Well, and you just said how you're a scientist before and you don't make a lot of money, right? But you know what drives you? It's the passion to, help people, help your husband, to find a cure for this thing. Why isn't that enough? I don't know. We're getting beyond science now, right?
I know. It's talking about, there are all these things to contend with. Like, it's not just the science. It's like, and I'm only just, figuring this out. So it's a challenge. There's multiple hurdles, but it's okay. I mean, I feel like the pieces should fall into place if we have our hearts in the right place, but we'll see. But maybe that's just me being a bit too hopeful.
No, never. Hope can be watered here a lot, especially on this, a radiothon thing, because, that's all we have sometimes. And the people such as yourselves that are in the front lines to help. I mean, this is a marvelous idea to me. I'm all in. If I had money, I'd be like, man, I'll invest in that. How do we find which drug of these work? Now, when you're talking about those, I did get a little excited about it because I'm thinking, well, that sounds like an easier fix.
Mm.
Have you found any like top candidates so far then? I mean, you kind of,
I
narrowed
have.
down your search?
We have a whole bunch. Yeah. Yeah. I hesitate to talk about it. Like, I mean, I'm open to talking to scientists about it, but
Yeah.
sometimes I hesitate to talk about it to like patients, because then they'll go out and then they go out and buy the
Oh
drug,
yeah.
and then
No, I
they'll take
totally
it
get
and
that.
they'll say,
Yeah.
Angela Lek said that this is going to work. And then I'm like, hello,
We
I don't
have it
want,
recorded. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I don't want to,
I
yeah,
get that. Yeah. No,
sign
no, no.
my life away and say
Yeah.
this drug will work. I'm cautious like that.
But at least that there is some,
Yeah.
at least that are on your
There
radar.
are some.
And
There's
enough.
definitely a handful, not just one, but a handful of molecules that seem to be preventing the cell death outcome.
Do you
So
think then coming in 2021, we're going to be able to help overcome that hurdle, or at least maybe the years to follow, the hurdle you're talking about of drug companies not signing on to those ideas of an existing treatment available because there's no money in it? Do you think that that's a hurdle that can be climbed?
I don't know. I hope so. And some of them are even, Alec will talk to you next, but he works alongside me. Some of the things he's trying out, and that show, an effective like readout that show that it works well in cells, are like supplements, health supplements. And it's not even like, hardcore drugs.
Right.
So it's like, oh, it's hard to do a clinical trial based on these things, I guess. I don't know. We're going to have to talk to some regulatory experts, or, I just do the science and then need to talk to more experienced clinicians to help guide the way or something.
It still sounds hopeful to me. I'm
Yeah.
not giving up on the idea, and I don't think you are either. I don't. I think
No, no,
I
no.
think you're on the
Def-
right track
yeah.
on something big there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, we got about
Yeah.
a couple of minutes, so I wanted to add this like maybe final question. With the research you're doing, this might have piqued some people's interest. Maybe they want to read more about the work you're doing or find out more about it. That does happen in this community, right? And I said, when I Googled you, man, yeah, you see the awards for researcher and this and that. I know FSHD Society had a lot about you. So besides fshtsdsociety.org, is there any other place that people can learn more about your work?
Yeah, sure. I've been generously funded from other foundations like the Chris Carino Foundation, Friends for FSHD, along with FSH Society. And they all have like a brief description of different projects, FSHD related projects I'm working for them. And it's been really great that a lot of these foundations are investing in the next generation of scientists. And not just sticking to the older, more experienced variety. I mean, they have to retire sometimes, so it's best to invest in the
Pass
next
the torch.
generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, no offense, Lou. That's my old boss. um, so, and this year, I've also managed to publish some review articles as well as my research article. And you can access that through the internet, through PubMed. You can do a search on my name. Otherwise, just email me if you have any questions. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Angela, for joining us today on this Giving Tuesday and getting us educated, giving us some hope, and the positive attitude is always appreciated. We wish you and your husband the best, and thanks for
Cheers.
joining us.
All right. See you later, mate.